The San Antonio Spurs have been a gold standard when it comes to NBA basketball clubs. You hear so many times, so often, like the Spurs way is the best way to go. They have been a gold standard. And that's mainly because of Gregg Popovich. Now, obviously, they have had many great players on their roster: Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, players like that, Kawhi Leonard, obviously. But Gregg Popovich has been a huge part of their success and changing the culture in that organization. Again, making it become a gold standard in terms of NBA clubs. So what we are going to do today is look at some offensive basketball plays used by the San Antonio Spurs. Now, what you're going to notice here when looking at these plays is that the San Antonio Spurs don't frequently run a traditional five-out motion offense. That's not what Gregg Popovich is known for. Now, obviously, we know that Gregg Popovich and the Spurs are, known for their defense as well. Maybe that's something we'll go into in another video. But today we're going to specifically look at their offense and the plays that they ran in the 2000s and early 2010s when they were in that Tim Duncan era. Now, again, what you'll see here, not a traditional five-out motion offense. What you're going to see is, multiple screens off the ball, multiple screens for the ball that will result in an easy two. So a little bit more of a complicated offense, sometimes only resulting in a two, sometimes resulting in a three as well. But you will really see the genius of Gregg Popovich here and why his coaching is very different than the traditional five-out coaching that you'll see on the offensive end in basketball today with the modern NBA and modern basketball in general. So let's take a look at these offensive plays here by the San Antonio Spurs, and we'll watch them in game action. Now, the first play that we're going to look at here involves multiple stagger screens that the San Antonio Spurs would often run for Tony Parker. They like to have Tony Parker come off of these stagger screens to either get a wide open three-point shot or an easy layup that would result in a pick and roll to the basket. And this play was super successful. It was a zipper loop style play, and you'd often see multiple NBA teams run this play, including the Toronto Raptors with Kyle Lowry during their Kyle Lowry years in their championship season in 2019. So let's take a look at it. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to have number 3 go set a screen here for number 4. Now, number 4 is going to come off that screen so that they're a little bit more centered on the basketball floor. So they're going to come off that screen and they're going to be centered right here. Maybe in this situation, we'd actually have the point guard a little bit more to the left. But regardless, we're going to have number 4 end up receiving the basketball. Now, as that happens, number 1 is going to circle their way around the floor, and they're going to be getting screened by just about every player on the floor. So number 1 is going to continue moving down the floor, and they're going to get screened on by number 3. Number 2 is then going to step in as well for that second screen. So number 1 is continuing to move down the floor. They're getting screened on by number 3 here. They're getting screened on by number 2 here. And then number 5 is going to move down as well, and they're setting another screen for number 1. Number 1 is coming off of that nice and tight, and they're going to receive the basketball back. Now, I've seen multiple other NBA teams run this play with their point guards, especially when you have an undersized point guard on your roster that can shoot the ball pretty well consistently. One team that I've seen run this play a lot was the Toronto Raptors, who would pretty much run this play frequently often with Kyle Lowry, who's another undersized point guard similar to Tony Parker. Often see a lot of the time is Kyle Lowry would actually, almost get a defender here ready to contest the shot. Maybe they jump a little bit, and Kyle Lowry would have just about a wide open lane to the basket. So it's a little bit of a different way to get your point guard open for an easy basket, or if you're lucky, receiving a three-point shot. Let's take a look at it again. So we'll have our point guard up here with the basketball. We can kind of rearrange our numbers a little bit. It's not too important right now where our numbers are. So we're going to have number 3 set that first screen, right? And number 2 is coming off that screen a little bit more centered to the basketball. Number 4 is going to move in to set that second screen. We're ready, right? Number 1 is looping around the floor all the way through. They're getting screened on here by number 3, getting screened on by number 4, getting screened on by number 5. Right, so that's number 1's path all the way through. They're going to receive the basketball back. Can we get a three-point shot here? Maybe, but if not, we can drive it to the basket for an easy layup. As these screens take place, right, we're going to get these players out nice and wide, so we can open up that lane a little bit for our point guard if the three-point shot is not there. Okay, so the next play that we are going to look at here is a little pin down action used by Gregg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs. Now, the goal of this particular play is to get somebody open for a mid range shot, right? Tim Duncan would often come off of this screen that we're going to show you, and he would usually get, a mid range shot around the free throw line. So if you have a particular player, that you like to get open for a mid range shot, someone you trust in the mid range, this is the perfect play that you can use. So let's dive into it. Let's take a little look. Now, the biggest part of this play is that it comes from a little pin down action, but there are a few little things that happen first. So let's take a look at it. So number one here is our point guard. Okay, and number 5 is the player that you want to shoot that little mid-range shot. Oftentimes, like I said, the San Antonio Spurs would do this for Tim Duncan. So the first thing that we're going to do is number 3 is going to back cut, and they're going to do a little loop around and come outside to the 3-point line to receive the basketball. As that happens, though, number 5 is going to step in and set a little screen here for number 3 on the way over. So number 3, like I said, is cutting. Number 5 is stepping in to set a little screen as number 3 does that. Number 3 is continuing until number 3 gets to the 3-point line. Once that happens, number 1 is going to feed the ball over here to number 3. Now we have number 2 here at the elbow, kind of lined up as if this were to be a little bit of a horn set. So number 2 is just going to pop out wide to the 3-point line, and number 3 is just going to dish the ball over to number 2. Now, as that happens, number 3 is going to cut through the middle of the key and look for the basketball from number 2, almost as if they're maybe looking to do a little bit of a 5-out motion style cut to the basket. But what they're actually going to do is come down here and set a hard screen for number 5. Number 5 is going to curl off of that screen for a mid-range shot. Number 2 is going to hit number 5. And number 5 is going to have pretty much a wide open lane here for a mid-range shot around the free throw line like we talked about. So let's take a look at this again and let's reset. So we are reset now. We have our point guard here. We have, almost a little bit of a horns looking set there. And we have our 5 who's going to be shooting that mid-range shot ready to go. So like we said, the first thing we're going to have here is number 3 is going to loop around to the 3-point line. Number 5 will step in for the screen on the way over. Number 3 is moving. Number 5 setting that screen. Number 3 is continuing over, right? And they're receiving that pass here from number 1. As that happens, number 2 is popping wide. We're going to feed the ball over to number 2. Number 3 is looking for the basketball, but they're actually going to set a screen here for number 5. And then number 5 is going to roll to about right here, receive that basketball around the free throw line, and they're going to get a mid-range wide open shot. Let's look at this play now being used by the San Antonio Spurs in NBA game action. So as we see here, we have Tony Parker bringing up the basketball in the point guard spot, and we will have Danny Green over here in the corner as the one kind of looping around to the 3-point line to get open. As you can see, Tim Duncan has already started the process of setting that screen there for Danny Green. So as we see, Danny Green comes up to the 3-point line, just like we talked about. And then we have somebody here coming back up to the 3, kind of popping wide off of that horns kind of look around the elbow, just like we talked about. They've received the basketball. Now you'll see Danny Green begin to cut like we talked about, but he's actually going to set that screen for Tim Duncan, that pin down screen. Tim Duncan comes off of it for a wide open shot around the free throw line, which was pretty easy for him. As we know, that was a specialty of Tim Duncan. Easy play for the Spurs. You can run this with just about any age group. All right, folks, that is all we have for today's particular topic. If you made it this far into today's lesson, it is greatly appreciated. Now, if you guys could also do me a huge favor and like this video and subscribe to our channel, it would also be greatly appreciated. We are the Online Basketball Academy. My name is Coach Danny, and I continuously upload different basketball plays, basketball systems, basketball tactics, and basketball drills that youth basketball players or training basketball players can use, or basketball coaches can use with their players and their teams. Like I said, folks, if you could take the time to like this video and subscribe to our channel so I can continue to make this type of content for you all, that would be greatly appreciated. Till next time, peace out.